Joe Man. Estuary.
Estuary in Michigan, Hudsonville.
Yes.
And we rolled up into a little housing development, and it's in a house, and so that was a surprise.
I have to turn around the camera, so I'm just gonna point it.
And,
Yeah.
And so we waited for more people to arrive, and some did. So,
Yeah, so it was probably
we
10
didn't go
people?
into some strange person's house alone.
Yes,
So that was good.
We were worried about that for a moment. Probably about 10 people. It's a good vibe. They were asking for Afriel, if you see this, they were asking basically to be evaluated in comparison to other estuaries. And we didn't know what to say because we've only been to one so far.
And
One other one.
This is apparently like one of the longest going estuaries.
Yeah, it
we've
started out as a Jordan Peterson meetup group.
And they have a Tupperware thing full of name tags with various names of people that have visited.
And they followed the protocol very well.
The protocol was followed diligently.
But not in a bad way.
Not in a bad way,
Yeah.
but you could still say pretty much anything, and some people
Yeah,
did.
you could interrupt, go off on a little tangent, then you get back to the protocol. That's probably how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
was cool.
open, very nice. There's a nice view of a lake, sunset. Very
Yeah,
nice.
we could actually probably check out the moon right there. See if I can zoom in. Look at that thing. Lovely lady. Or something like that. And there was an interesting callback to our first stop at the shared story. Was mentioned a couple times. This was a common theme in our estuary.
Somehow.
Yeah.
They don't know about the YouTube
Because
channel.
the big theme was about...
Now they do.
Yeah. Big theme was about how to talk with non-TLC people. You know, how do we bridge the gap with the normies, as it were. And I think that's a great topic, you know?
Yeah, there's attention being brought to how the circle closes.
Yes. The closing of the circle and the blinding people with big terminologies.
Plenty of navel gazing at this estuary.
Yes, there is lots of navel gazing, but
They were thinking and talking about themselves and the group and how it's doing. And
then one of the people was like, we should do a different estuary also. Yes. Yeah. Lots of talk about God, being, and beingness, I amness. Nice little shout out Q-In. Shout out Q-In from Formscapes talking about cosmic subjectivity and I amness. Yeah, that's good.
And this estuary had at least one agnostic person and another agnostic, or was she?
There was one very liberal person, so that's one of the things Afriel mentioned.
He said liberal many times.
Yeah, not only the woke right people.
Definitely not.
Is one way it was termed. And yeah, and the guy just invited us to park in his driveway and take a shower. So that's pretty cool. Shout out to
So many names.
there was a lot of names, but we can surely remember his name if we take a moment. Bernie and his wife, who is not there today.
Bonnie?
No.
That was Arden's wife.
Yeah, but there was another guy with the Bonnie.
Oh, that's why.
Bonnie named wife. Okay. Yeah, so shout out to this dude, Bernie. Very cool. Letting us hang out. I don't know if we'll stay overnight, but maybe a shower would be nice. So, yeah, stay tuned! Woo!
So, it's kind of like how the first half of my life was. And that was like my ultimate goal, was just like partying pretty much. And too bad we're not criminals.
Why is that?
You can rob all these people. They probably shouldn't be going anything like that, but I know I was doing it earlier because it's like the only thing you can do.
Yes.
Whew. Weird, dude. Weird.
We just got invited to stay at this house.
Yes, the estuary continues.
So awesome.
At the estuary meeting?
Yeah.
I think he wanted to talk to us, and We could, if you could give us his email or something, maybe we could try to connect with him before we leave.
Well,
Yeah.
if you make it to Linda's. Now, when I was a kid, none of this was here. This was all just farms. And this probably, a lot of this went in the late 70s. That's another lake, and see that the machine out there in the field?
Yeah.
That's a celery planter. And they grow the seedlings in a greenhouse in little flats.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take them out there, and that you can see somebody moving inside there, but all those little plants there are celery.
Look at that. Watching them plant. Perfect view too. We got.
Yeah. And beyond it, that looks like onions.
So many.
The guy that farms that, his dad and I were about the same age, went to the same church, and kind of grew up together. He was a couple years older. And his parents were also muck farmers. You can see the rows of celery on the right, and on the left is onion. The onion crops will be ready for harvest usually in August sometime. And back when I was a kid, they didn't have automated harvesters. So all the kids would work for these various farmers harvesting onions by hand with the shears. And I've got scars yet on my fingers from whacking myself with the shears. But that's what was like the key business. In fact, that's still, Hudsonville used to be called the Salad Bowl City because of all of that sort of farming that went on in this muck land.
I appreciate the little tour.
Yeah. This we'll go back there and get a little closer. So there's a creek that flows through. It's called Rush Creek. But that was what was left from the swamp when the old farmer I worked for when he was a teenage boy was part of the group that worked to drain all this to make it irritable for farming. They plant so that they're mature, not all at once, but in a pace where they can bring them to market. And then all the other farmers in the area, of course, are bringing them in as well. There's another little bit over here. I can show you some of the stuff. Bonnie's mother's side of the family were some of the bigger farmers in the area here. Just over here, a better view of how that muck all laid out.
Took her up on the farm.
Yeah, it was a riding stable, so didn't grow anything, but horses are awesome.
You had a buddy that his dad was actually a truck driver, but they lived on a little farm that had a stable, so they used to stable other people's horses there.
Yeah.
I assume you rode horses too there, right?
Oh yeah, I showed horses a little bit in 4-H even.
What do you mean?
I showed horses.
In 4-H, like 4-H camp, or?
Yeah, like at the fairs where they did it. The county fair.
What is 4-H?
It's like farm kids learning how to take care of animals and show them to some degree, and there's like ribbons and competitions and.
Yeah, that's big around here. We've got nieces and nephews that paid for part of their education showing beef and hogs to 4-H. It's a way of life.
Yep.
When you get right down to it. So when you look down this way, you can see where that muck extends all the way out, and then it winds its way around all the way out to Lake Nakatawa. This church here is the one I grew up in, but when my folks first moved to Hudsonville here, the congregation was meeting in the auditorium of the high school. So this was built after we moved to Hudsonville here. Now one of the pastors here currently is Bonnie's nephew.
How you guys are, you really kind of connected with the, not only like the land and the community, and you know all the spots. That's very cool.
I've spent most of my life in this little town, at least growing up until I went off to college and got married. There was a point in time where I could tell you who lived in every house on the
Yeah. And it's, nowadays people don't know their neighbors like barely at all,
Yeah.
Horrible. Oh, we need more estuaries.
That's right.
I'm glad I found my wallet. I was worried there for a moment.
That's why you couldn't find it.
Yeah. Could be.
I wasn't worried, and that's why I knew you'd find it.
Surprise recording. Shout out to these wonderful people. Yeah.
Maybe too wonderful.
Could be. Is there such a thing?
I don't know.
Oh.
These blessings bestowed upon us we do not deserve.